You are very much welcome to the session today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, so a brief about our panelists. Madam Deborah has an undergraduate law degree and a master's of defense and international politics. She has also been a youth referral coordinator at TEN Ghana and Magdan Entrepreneurship Challenge. She also works as a partner consultant with Jokium Consulting Group. She is in charge of the research planning desk of Jokium Innovation. She has 3 years of working experience with the firm. You're welcome once again, Madam Deborah Jesse. And our final, thank you so much. Our final panelist, Dr. Gordon Akonyamga. Doc is an accomplished multidisciplinary, hey, pardon my tongue twister, multidisciplinary research scientist with the CSR Science and Technology Policy Research Institute. Doc has enriched his expertise through a range of training programs and has contributions in the various areas such as strengthening science, technology, and innovation system for sustainable development in Africa and the assessment of socioeconomic implications of initiatives like the Savannah Integrated Biodiversity Conservation Initiative in Mole National Park. Doc, you're welcome. Doc, are you here?
Thank you. I'm here.
You're welcome, Doc. Doc, so we'll start with you today on our topic of research, innovation, and commercialization. Today we are looking at the extensively opportunities and challenges in this space. So I wanted to ask you briefly, what do you make of the research, innovation, commercialization space in Ghana at the moment? If you could take a brief moment to give us some nuggets.
I suppose you mean me, Doc, me.
Yes, Doc, Dr. Gordon.
Okay. Yeah, Gordon is fine with me, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me on this panel, and it's a pleasure as always to work with you guys, and then also with the colleague panelists. There's so much going on as far as research in Ghana. And if we want to think about research as it happens in the traditional sense of in the research institutions in Ghana, like the CSIR, like the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, and then in the universities as well, traditional universities, in fact, the private universities are also doing a lot there. And then also innovation on the side. In recent times, these traditional research organizations and universities, let me page sort of recent times work or previously by the nature of our training and the kind of things that we do. Innovation hasn't always been an integral part of it until, let's say, I wouldn't put it past a decade, but let's say very recently, let me put it that way. And so now the research organizations or the knowledge-based institutions are now aggressively pursuing the innovation or the commercialization aspect of their mandates. And therefore, it requires, for me, if you like, a certain change in mindset, a certain expertise, because mind you, those of us who've been in research, have been in research for the past 16 years. We've been in research and started, all you needed to do was do your research, publish, and move on. And you know how to think about commercialization and all of that. It becomes, you have to be deliberate about what you do with your work. So there's a big room in there for improvement, a big room in there for growth, if you like. And therefore, there's a big market potential, if you ask me, in terms of commercializing the research.
Okay, thank you so much, Gordon. I'll take a follow-up question right from there because you've given a brief about the whole ecosystem. What do you think are the key opportunities? This is a two-phase question. What do you think are the key opportunities that exist within this ecosystem? And do you think there are some challenges that also exist? You can mention a few, and then we'll go to our fellow panelists.
By way of opportunity, I think I mentioned one of them that I said, we are starting and the market there is big. It's a big market potential there. Much external products and services, and therefore the opportunity is there for us to sort of have local grown substitutes for the kind of things we consume. And I guess that with the kinds of initiatives from the Ministry of Trade and Industry and all of that, we've become aware of consuming local products, whether they're clothing or food and that kind of thing. So there's market potential there. Also, because of the fact that in the commercialization or innovation has become a key component of research, steps are being taken with, the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program is there, if you like, as a national growing or nurturing innovations, and also, of course, commercializing products and services. The other aspect to align with this is the fact that the SME Act, the act that for supporting SMEs and startups and all of that, are things that go to support the growth of enterprises. And of course, overall, there's a certain an emergence of a culture of entrepreneurship in Ghana that is really good. As I said, the knowledge-based institutions, the universities, have sort of included entrepreneurship of, therefore, is that you graduate from the whatever program you're pursuing, and you're beginning to have your antennas up, or by the time you're out, your antennas are already up, scanning for opportunities out there to become a business owner or to have your own startup. And therefore, that kind of culture or spirit is an opportunity to tap into the various outcomes of research is that we always claim are on our shelves, to try to commercialize some of those things. Yeah. So this is what I can say. And then, but of course, you mentioned challenges. Plenty. For those of us in research, my risk by the nature of my research is such that all I need is my computer and my internet, and then if I have to work, I need people to talk to in terms of interview people. So I basically don't I don't do my research in a scientific laboratory, if you like. I mean, a natural science laboratory. Resources are not there to put them up. State-of-the-art laboratories, and to talk of maker spaces where you can produce prototypes and that kind of thing. So we need that kind of infrastructure. For me, a solution here is to say, for example, you have a regional center, or some time ago we were thinking about industrial parks or something like that, where you can have people like you've pooled resources nationally or regionally, where scientists or entrepreneurs mainly can go there to bring their ideas to life and that kind of thing. So infrastructure is a big thing, and it's not only about infrastructure with respect to what do you call it, laboratories, but if you're out of the capital cities, or you're out of the bigger towns, internet access is a big issue, electricity is a. So we should be looking at all these things and so forth. And then we need to build a skills gap for specific areas. Some time ago, about 2 years ago, I was interviewing, I was conducting a survey of innovation hubs in the country. And one of the main things that I came up was that, innovation hubs, especially for those in the IT, they're always looking for a certain skill set, and they never will have it. So you had people from Nigeria or Kenya, anywhere, or they always had these skill sets. So we need to be deliberate about the specific areas that we want to grow and build a skill set towards it. So this is what I think I will have to say.
Thank you so much, Gordon. I think I share in your sentiments, especially where you talk about some of the challenges. That skills gap exists. Together with Risa, we are trying to do a project at the University of Ghana Business School where we are taking some innovations to some rural areas. And when you get there, you can clearly see that innovation divide is there. It's like they are in an entirely new world on their own. So those are very, very important issues you mentioned. And we'll go to Dr. Abena Ingman. I want to also ask you this question from the back of what Dr. Gordon has mentioned, that is there a way we can better bridge the gap between academia and an industry to facilitate the commercialization of research? I know you worked extensively at the Office of Research, Innovation and Development at the UG in University of Ghana. So from that experience and also from all the work you've done in the Design Thinking Hub and then at Chelsea and then at Academic City, do you see this bridge? Is there a better way to bridge the gap between academia and industry to facilitate commercialization?
Yes, thank you, Oliver. I think there's a lot that can be done to bridge that gap between academia and industry. And whilst I was working at Orange at the University of Ghana, and they still have it, they have a technology transfer office, which is manned by senior administrators who liaise between industry and academia. And it's not only University of Ghana that has this office, but UMass also has it, KNUST also has it. So they liaise between industry and academia to see what they can come up with together to be able to come up with innovations and then commercialize them. So recently, University of Ghana partnered with Nestle, and they came up with a graduate students challenge program on sustainability and affordability of nutrition products. So that was done by one of the schools at University of Ghana. So that's one example of how that gap can be bridged. The other thing that we do from my experience at academia is we bring in adjunct faculty from industry to come and teach the students some of the practical things, the actual things that are happening on the ground. So we try to blend theory with practicals as well. So what they learn in class, they get to know what is happening out there in industry and how they can apply their skills that they've learned. For instance, there was a course that I was supporting in teaching. We call that course New Product Development. And in this course, students were supposed to come up with new products. But what we did was that we partnered with industry. We asked industry, what are some of the challenges that you face? What are some of the new products that you want to come up with? And each group, the students were grouped into teams, and each team was working with one industry partner. And they came up either improving the product that already existed or coming up with solutions to the problems that the industries gave them. And then at the end of the semester, industry partners came in, gave evaluations of what the students had been able to do. Another thing that we can do to bridge the gap between industry and academia is where we have knowledge sharing platforms. I know Gordon works at CSIR. How can we have innovation platforms together with academia, where we work together and showcase what we can do together? So for instance, on the 17th of November, we are going to have a business fair here to show what the students have done. We invite industry to come to, Gordon has his hands up. I don't know whether I am not audible.
No, I can hear you. I just wanted to respond to something when you are done, please. So just go on.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Yeah. So we invite industry to come and see what our students have been able to do. We can invite industry to come and help us with developing our curriculum for our students so that we are always up to date with what is happening out there, so that we teach the students current things and what industry needs and what industry wants, so that we don't teach them what is not vital to what we need currently. So these are some of the few things I'll mention. If there's more time, then I'll come up with more examples of how we can bridge that gap between industry and academia as well.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Gordon, you can go now.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, Abna, I don't know whether you were one of those who participated in the review or the workshops that we were reviewing the National Science and Technology Innovation Policy. But one of the key things that we have, and I am one of the proponents of this idea, is that to have what we call at least a national summit on science, technology, innovation. And this national summit is a summit of the various universities, research organizations, industry champions, policymakers, come to basically participate in this summit where we together chart an agenda for the year on academia. What should we be looking at doing as far as science, technology, innovation is concerned? And same thing with sorry, I'm being distracted here a little bit. Sorry about that. And same thing for policymakers and so on and so forth. So you are right about these innovation platforms. Innovation platforms for the agri sector, there's one that FARA, Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa, has been doing, and which we can quickly learn from to bring this into in beyond the agri sector. The agri is definitely, there's a lot of research ongoing there, but we need to look at the industrial aspect, the IT aspect, and all the other sectors of the economy. So I just wanted to bring this in there. Look, we have taken this idea of this innovation platform of stakeholder engagements, so and into the national policy, science and technology innovation policy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doc. I'll go to Madam Deborah, and then I'll ask this question off the back of the submission that we've received from Dr. Eggman and then Dr. Gordon. That are we doing enough? I say that from the back of are there enough collaborations between industry and then academia? Because I see maybe UG doing their own thing with some industry partners, maybe CSR doing some with some industry partners, but is it collectively done? Are we doing enough? And you can also share other ways that we can bridge that gap between industry and academia.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. We are not doing enough, but then I think it's better than before. And I want to commend the other panelists for giving us more insights in what they are doing. So I believe that for us to bridge these gaps, we need to have an open channel to discuss these kind of opportunities and research, which caters for all the industries. So if we have a forum that has, for instance, okay, University of Ghana will come, Ashasi will come, all the researchers around tackling a particular field are all present. We're able to have a holistic views. We're able to collect all this data, information on the research they are doing that can be commercialized into making something meaningful. So I think for looking for the way forward, we need to collaborate more in these aspects. We need to collaborate more and also create more incubators and accelerators hub to invite other people who are not heard of it or who are into the research but do not have those opportunities to engage. Then also we need to make sure that the industries and people in research are being invested into. So there are a lot of people who are doing research who are into this commercializing their research, but they are not really accepted in the industry where they are doing these researches. So and one thing that's also affecting us is policy. A lot of policy in these industries are not friendly enough. So I believe that looking at the research field in Ghana, we need to work on the policies that will be a little more friendly. For instance, like there's this guy who was trying to use plastic for fuel. It's a great initiative. This guy has been pushing to get an FDA license, but he wasn't getting. He has to now call on all media people. I'm sure he had gone through all the process. He has gone to see industry people to try and get his idea to that commercializing stage, but he wasn't getting. And these are all the I don't know, they discourage people from getting to the stage where, after doing the research, making the needs assessments, then the final stage of commercialization, their research do not get to see the light of the day.
Thank you so much, Deborah. On the back of what you said, I have a follow-up question for Dr. Gordon. I think you mentioned one thing that was quite instructive, that now the universities and then higher education institutions are setting up hubs. Do you think is there a way that can impact commercialization of research even within the universities? Because, for instance, in the University of Ghana, there is now an innovation and incubation hub. And that hub does not just serve business students, it serves science students, it serves agric engineering students. Is that a frontier that we should be churning, Doc? Then I'll come to Dr. Engman.
I think you answered the question, right? Yeah, Oliver, you answered the question, and I'll add a little bit more. So, as I mentioned, I did this study some time back, almost 4 years, in 2020. At the time, not many of the universities had the incubation hubs. I think, Dr. Engman has mentioned earlier that some of the universities even have what they call the technology transfer offices, or the similar ones like her former workplace, ORIT, at Legon. And these ones, in fact, KNUSA had their technology transfer center and technology transfer and consultancy center way back, as far back in the 90s. In fact, I'm sure it's even older than the 90s.
Yes, that's true. I was there, I was shocked.
Exactly. No, don't be shocked, because they knew that this was a way to go. But you see, what the problem I have with these bodies, kind of bodies in the various organizations, because CSI also have one. CSI, we have our technology development and transfer center sat in my office in Stepbury. It's not in Stepbury, but it's directly under CSIR. It's only housed in Stepbury, but its mandate comes from CSIR, the head office. But the problem I have with these entities is that, you see, they are embedded in these organizations, and they take on the
Hello, Doc.
why, for me, I thought that the idea of the innovation hubs is a good idea. And I was thinking of the ones that were even outside of the universities or outside of the research organizations, because that way we are looking at partnering between and strengthening the collaboration and partnership between the research organization and the private sector. Because if they are sat within the organization, the universities or the research organizations, then the temptation or the idea will be to serve only those within, the scientists or the ideas or the students within. But how about those outside? Do they have access? Is there room for entrepreneurs, would-be innovators, to have access to the hub to come and grow their ideas? And so my idea about even this is that, even if, say, the University of Ghana or CSIR has its innovation hub, for me, are a very important aspect of research commercialization if we want to indeed pursue this agenda going forward.
Thank you so much, Gordon. Dr. Eggman, you want to say a word on this?
Yes, I don't know whether it's my network, but I lost some of the submissions of Dr. Gordon.
Yes,
So,
I did too. We'll take
okay.
another round so that he comes back.
Okay, so forgive me if I repeat exactly what he said, because I'm not sure. Yeah, so I think the hubs within academia, within the universities are very important, because that is where individuals, students, and even faculty start building their skills, because building the skills towards innovation and commercialization can take a while, especially if you want to get it right. And I also like the fact that they have taken the multidisciplinary approach, because when it comes to innovation, you realize that even though it might be in agriculture, it might be in health, knowledge from people who are not in that space becomes very important, because they are also users and they've also seen other people using it. And I usually give this example in my class, where an IT company won a multi-million-dollar contract to come up with some sort of innovation. And they had all gathered in the room and they're trying to figure out how are they going to solve this problem. And funny enough, they had a biologist on the team, and they were sitting in the room, and the biologist came with a bag of mussels. Mussels is a type of seafood. And everybody was wondering, we are trying to solve an IT problem. Why have you brought a bag of mussels and come to put it on the table? And he goes like, mussels, or whatever clams that they call it, they are very sensitive. Once they identify or sense movement, they open their mouths. And it lit up a light bulb in the team's head that, oh, this is what we are looking for. What we are trying to do is develop senses. So if you're able to study the muscles or the clams on how they react to movement or sensitivity, then we'll be able to solve that problem. He has nothing to do with IT or anything. He's a biologist, but he brought in that knowledge of the muscles and the clams on how they react, and we're able to solve the problem. So the multidisciplinary approach is good, but I think the challenges that the hubs are facing also comes with funding, because when it comes to innovation and commercialization, you need a lot of funding. So you realize that a lot of the things, that the ideas that come up within these hubs, most of the time don't go beyond the proof of concept stage because there's lack of funding. So if they had funding, then probably they could go a bit further to help the students or the people who come through the incubator to go past proof of concept and then go to the IP stage of registry and then commercialization. But funding is a big challenge. But if you have investors like Ashesi, there was a question in the chat, whether academia partners with startups. That's one thing that Ashesi does very well. They support startups and even give them seed funding to grow a bit beyond the proof of concept stage. So that will be my submission point. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I see some of our participants are putting questions in the chat box. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box and we'll get to them after our round of questions, and we'll read them, or you could hold on and then speak directly and ask your questions. Thank you. I'll also come the same question to Deborah, if you have any submissions on that before we go to the next topic.
Yeah, I think Doc has given she has said all in all, because it's funding that is mostly the issue. The funding to see the research go through all the process to get to the commercialization stage. And I think we need to do more on that aspect.
Okay, on the back of that, I'll ask this sensitive question, but I hope our panelists will do justice to it for me. So what roles do governments play in this whole research, innovation, and commercialization? I'll come to universities and businesses, but let's delve into the role that government plays, if we have any. I'll start from Deborah so that we go.
Okay, so the role government needs to play is to provide funding and grants. That's what so it's very important for government agencies to help to provide funding for the research projects, especially in areas that is going to provide to solve societal needs. And also the regulation and policy. I stretch on regulation and policy because I'm from the legal aspect, because there are a lot of policies and regulations that restrict even the researchers and the business ideas that people need to venture into. There are a lot of, you have to do this, you have to go to the patent office, you have to do this. So it makes all these things very cumbersome, makes the process very cumbersome for people. It doesn't give them an incentive to go through the process to the end, because you have to see this person do this. It's not been easy. And tax also, if government also can provide tax incentives and subsidies also to give the business owners, make it more attractive for people to engage in research commercialization for their efforts they've gone through, because some people spend a lot of money to see to it that these research products they bring to the market are able to meet the societal needs. And also, the government should invest into education and the workforce. So government agencies basically should also help in educational incentives and also produce skilled workforce and capable of driving innovation and technology in commercialization. I think that's some of the key things government can help to improve the research and commercialization space.
She's gone off.
Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Please go
Okay.
on.
So I was saying, let me just, if you didn't get me, so I said the first thing government should do is to provide funding to help regulation and policy, and also provide innovation and technology transfer programs to help the people in research, and also provide tax incentives and subsidies for them, and also educate the workforce in the
Thank you
research
so much.
commercialization. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Gordon, what role does government play in this whole research, innovation, and commercialization initiative? Hello, Gordon.
Oh, sorry. I was on mute. I didn't know I was on mute. Sorry. Yeah. So I was saying that a previous speaker, Deborah has touched on the key things, but of course, policy is broad and in some ways. So government is the key one here in terms of policy, the enabling environment. So for example, one of the things that I always say is that if government is money for example, government doesn't give us money for research, right? But assuming government starts giving us money for research, and government says that this particular study that you're going to, or research you're going to do, you have to, at the end of the day, have a private sector partner that will take the outcome of your research into their processing or their company activities. Oh, we will do it. Yes, of course, because you want to get the money to continue your work. So you find ways of, you will make sure that the research that you are doing will benefit the private sector or will yield some results. So it's all about government creating an enabling environment through the policy. Deborah talked about the tax waivers or the tax incentives and so forth. These are all policy issues that, for example, if you want to encourage the private sector, their partnership with universities or research organizations for research. If you are giving tax waivers or incentives to the private sector, look, if you take on students or if you engage researchers or experts from the university, the engineering or whatever it is in your activity to run your this, and you get this kind of taxing, they will do it because they know that they're going to get some money or they're not going to spend some money in some areas in there. So again, it's about policy. The key thing that I would like to add, in fact, two things. I mentioned them at the beginning, very beginning of my submission. Infrastructure is important. Government is supposed to provide infrastructure, no matter what, the basic infrastructure that we all enjoy. Individually, we can't do that. Maybe if we were an estate community, we'll provide our own roads in the estate, we'll provide our own drains and our own wastewater treatment facilities in the estate. But beyond that, government is responsible for giving us electricity, having good what do you call it, infrastructure or support the neighboring environment to support the tel to reach out in terms of their internet access and so forth. And then also critically, we talked about infrastructure for building capacity or training the necessary human resource needed for that. And the last one that I want to add, which is very critical, is intellectual property protection. Ensuring that my intellectual property is protected so that I can benefit from. I mean, for example, I'm sure many of us have seen in at the beginning or end of American movies where they tell you that the FBI, they give a warning that this thing is protected by blah, 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 blah. Excuse me, I'm in the meeting. You know, the is protected by FBI by so and so and that, right? You see all those things and it's a warning and there you do that. But of course, we find ways in which we get it. But the point I'm making is that that is a national entity's enforcement of the intellectual property rights of movie makers.
Yeah.
So, you know, you walk on the streets and you are the traffic light and somebody is trying to sell you a pen drive full of songs. You know, how are we protecting the intellectual property of the musician, the creative artist, and so on and so forth? And that goes into the aspect of research. So we need to have assurance that, look, if somebody comes to take my idea and I see it and I go to court with it, it will be decided immediately within the shortest possible time, whether I am right or I am wrong. Be decided. It shouldn't prolong and take like years litigating over it, and then I give up and that kind of thing. So these are things that, for me, are things that, from the government perspective, I would expect that will enhance commercialization. Thank you.
Thank you so much. For Dr. Engman, I want to ask you a different question because you are based in a university and you've worked in other universities as well. What is the role of universities? We've spoken about hubs, but what is the real role of universities? You can also add the perspective of industry. What is the role of businesses in this whole research, innovation, and commercialization?
Okay, so universities are already doing a lot when it comes to research. There's a lot of research that goes on within the universities that are sitting on the shelves. And so there's a lot of knowledge there. So the research is done, but then it ends, like I said earlier, it doesn't go beyond proof of concept. It doesn't go through commercialization. So for instance, University of Ghana, they have 3 World Bank Centers of Excellence. You have WACBIP, you have WACI, and then you have WACGEN. So the WACBIP is West African Center for Cell Biology and Infectious Pathogens. So that's to the health. The WACI is for agriculture, crop improvement, and then the WACI related to sickle cell and genetics. So these centers they have attracted funding from the World Bank and are doing a lot of research. I think the next step that needs to happen is how do we commercialize? How do we practicalize and improve people's living standards from the research that we have found? So for WACI, for instance, the one for agriculture, I know they have attached an entrepreneurship center to the World Bank Center of Excellence, and they are going through entrepreneurship training. So investors, beyond the research that they do and all the knowledge that they are churning out, I think they need to go a step further and train people, both faculty and students and researchers, as to the next step. Sometimes it becomes challenging because when the funder or the funding agency gives you the money, they tell you exactly what they want to do, and the funding may not get you to where you want to commercialize. So they are doing a great job at finding the knowledge. The next step is how do we commercialize? How do we give people the skills that they need to be able to go all the way up to commercialization? When it comes to businesses, I think what they need to do is also to provide market insights. You are out there, you are selling their products. What have you heard customers saying? What have you heard users saying? What feedback are you receiving? If you can get that feedback and get it to the investors, then the investors can take the next step through their technology transfer offices, bring you together, and then you move on to commercialization to improve your products. Industry can also promote success stories. What have you done with the university and how successful was it? Once we promote these stories, others hear about it and they'll be willing to come to academia to partner with them to churn out some of these products as well, and also provide funding. Like Deborah and Gordon said, we need funding, and what we can do is to give tax incentives to industries who support academia to come up with these products, these innovations. So businesses should be incentivized to provide funding to commercialize some of our research that we have done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doc. My final question to all our panelists, and it's in twofold, and then we can take questions from the guests. So first question is, what are the best practices for commercializing research? We can give one each, and then followed up by, are there resources available where researchers or startups can fall on to commercialize their research? Let's say there's no funding, are there resources available? Can you point us to some of these resources that are available that researchers can go to commercialize their work? I'll start with Deborah. Your hands are raised, so you can maybe make your submission and then get the question.
Okay, so the best practices for people to commercialize on their research is to build a very good team, because many a times the issue with researchers not being able to get to the commercialization stage is because they lack the team. Some of them lack the required skills and knowledge to be able to get their research to the final stage. So I would entreat people who want to do this to build a very good team and develop a very good business plan. Should do your thorough research. It's not half and half kind of research. That's why a lot of agencies do not want to fund or do not want to give monies to these individuals, because sometimes their proposals and business plan usually have not been properly done or probably conducted. So it gives so moving forward, I would entreat us all to have a very good business plan and recruit a very good team. I think these are the two basic things I would say, and leave the rest for my seniors to add up.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Gordon, your take on this question. Hello, Gordon. Thank you, you can take it so that when
okay. So just to add to what Deborah said, apart from building a very good team, you should also build in mind that the team needs to be multidisciplinary. That is very important as well. And I think that will strengthen your team. The other thing I'll add is that let's develop a proof of concept from the research findings and let us pilot test before we launch. Testing gives us a lot of feedback. It gives us a lot of insight to come and improve whatever we are building, whatever we are innovating. So build a proof of concept, but make sure you test, and you take the feedback and iterate and come back and improve it. And talking about resources available, I think the ecosystem, the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Ghana has grown. Now we have a lot of hubs, and some hubs specialize in specific areas. So for instance, we have the Ghana Climate Innovation Center, which is specifically for innovations in the climate and sustainability space. We have MEST. MEST has been supporting entrepreneurs for a very, very long time. And recently I got to know there's a network called GAIN, Ghana Angels Investors Network. And we all know what angels investors do. So in case you are looking for funding, there's this network I also recently got to know about. And if you find yourself on any university campus, the TTOs, technology transfer offices, are there. And the officers there are very helpful, and they're also able to point you to the other resources that you need when it comes to commercialization. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doc. I don't know if Dr. Gordon is around now. Doc, are you around? Okay, let's take questions from our audience now. If you have any questions.
Yes, I am around. Sorry.
Oh, okay, Doc. The question was, are there any what are some of the good practices or best practices in commercializing one's research? Yeah. And also if you can point us to some resources that researchers or startups can go to or can fall on to commercialize their work. Briefly, and then we can move.
Yeah, thanks. I think that from what I and sorry about that, I had locked myself in my office, and just when I finished speaking, I had to attend to a visitor we had from Nigeria. So sorry about that.
No worries.
And so when I came back, I heard Abna, and I totally agree with her on all that she has said. And I just want to add, from our point of view, presently I am coordinating a project, and just to give an example, and the project that we are coordinating is a project funded by the European Commission through the Horizon 2020 project. We call it Wider Uptake. And what we are doing is basically recovering resources from wastewater treatment. And so we are recovering resources in terms of the water, because the water has nutrients for plants, recovering the water after treating it for urban agriculture, and then also the sludge for making biochar, what we call biochar, as a kind of burning fuel, a fuel for burning and for releasing the energy to heat things. And what we have done in the project is basically what she was taking in terms of the proof of concept. So we have been working with colleagues at Industrial Research, and then also the wastewater treatment plant with the Ghana Standards Authority, because we need to make sure that it's standardized, it meets standards with Ghana FDA. So what I'm saying is that in order for you to bring your innovation out, you need to have, you know that it needs to meet certain standards, certain requirements. And therefore, you need to have those people. Sometimes it may require money, sometimes it may not require money. It may require you having the network to be able to say, look, I'm trying to do this and I need advice on it. And therefore, I agree with Abner again once again, say, look, go to the universities, or go, when you're in universities, go to the TTOs or the technology transfer centers, and they can help connect you to experts, people who can dedicate their time to advise you on what to do. In some cases where it requires testing and all of that, yes, you will have to pay for testing, all those things. And therefore, it's one of the ways to go in terms of commercializing your research. For resources locally, I think resources, yes, I agree, the angel investors network is there. You should look for them and all of that. There's also the Ghana Venture Capital Trust Fund. And also it's another avenue that you can approach. Their office, I think they used to be at just around the after office in Accra, but the Ghana Venture Capital Trust Fund is another place where we can find funding. Of course, the Ghana Entrepreneurship Innovation Program is another place that you can find funding. The CTVET, the CTVET, they used to be called the Commission on Vocation, COTVET, but now they're CTVET. So they too, once in a while, will come out with challenges, calling for proposals to build on your innovations or and in some instances, they also make calls for organizations to provide training, skill training to people. So they have different windows where they do these things. So these are opportunities that comes to mind that I can share with you guys.
Thank you so much, Gordon. It has been a very insightful session with our panelists. And as stands now, we are wrapping up, and we'll take some questions from our audience. Are there any questions for us from our, you can either type them in the comment section, or you can raise your hands and then I'll call you. Ni, you have a question? Go. We have about a minute to go. Few minutes to go.
Yeah, thank you so much for the insight. So I'll just go straight to the point. So most of academia has spent like decades doing research. And I know you mentioned technology transfer office and all of that, but this, I assume it's not a widely known thing that people can just come to your office and do that though. But my issue is that for basically every startup that comes up with a new product or innovation, they have to go through spend a lot of time and resources and capital developing their product and all of that. So my question is simple, like if academia already has done like a lot of research on some of these things, probably like on the, assuming like the water resource thing was already done, or probably have like other research on biopesticides or bio waste or whatever that has already been done. Why isn't Isn't there a way like rather to publicize some of these findings so startups can just pick up these already established solutions so they can rather commercialize instead of having all the startups have to go through the entire process of product development, research, and all of that, wasting a whole lot of money and resources doing all of that when academia has already done that. And you can businesses or startups can just pick those solutions and start commercializing it. Isn't that a more sustainable way? And if you have other, if there's a reason why that is not happening, can you please explain some of the challenges with just giving these solutions to startups to continue their development? Thank you.
Okay, Ni. Thank you, Ni. I don't know. Any of our panelists can take. Doc, you want to take this? Dr. Gordon.
Yes, I can take this, please. Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that I mentioned it partially when I was making my submission in terms of whether the universities and research organizations establishing their own innovation hubs is it good or not. I said it's good, yes. But as I mentioned earlier on, my idea of this is that these innovation hubs serve as the hubs where you will have people, they would support people, whether they are within the universities or outside the universities, who have ideas to turn innovations or to turn ideas or research from the universities into products or into services. And so this is where I was thinking about in terms of going. And so I agree with you. And for such to happen, example, if CSIR has an innovation hub, it has to take CSIR to identify which ones that are ready and therefore would invite anybody who is interested and has the ideas to be able to be supported through the CSI system to bring this into fruition with training, with backing. And therefore, it also will mean that CSI should be ready to put in some resources or to draw the resources from elsewhere to support the innovator who is coming to take the idea to get to the market. So that is one aspect there. The main challenge, another challenge that comes with this is that, you see, our research is usually funded by an external donor, and it's a grant. Call it free money. We don't expect to pay back. And usually, the one who gives you the grant wants the data or the outcome of the research. And depending on the kind of contract you sign with them, yes, you are supposed to make the knowledge or the results of your research public knowledge or public access or open access, if you like, so that anybody else can have it. And therefore, it becomes difficult for anybody or you, the one leading the PI, to, if there's an opportunity to do an IP to protect the intellectual property of what you have seen there. It's difficult for you to protect it because the donor does not allow that. And then also, without intellectual property, no investor will be willing to invest in it because it's open source. Anybody can take it. Why should I come and put my money in it? And then it's once I get to the market and I'm making good money on the market, it's this entity B can also go and take the same thing and then also start selling or develop and start selling. It's open source. So it becomes a problem. And therefore, that is why there are only a few of these studies or research that are there that you can actually commercialize. And therefore, that again has to come from the organizations that have it, that have the idea or the innovation to commercialize.
Thank you so much.
I've thrown light on your question a little bit.
Yes, please.
I hope, yes. Thank you so much, Ni. Dr. Gordon, thank you so much for the feedback. And then Dr. Engman, I see that you've commented, you've answered some of the questions in the chat section. Thank you so much for that as well. I think this is where we'll draw the curtains on today's session. It's very interactive and then it's been very fruitful. And thank you to all our panelists, Dr. Abina Engman, Madam Deborah Jesse, and Dr. Gordon Akonyamga. We'll have a little ask before we close the whole session. We want to all put on our cameras and take a brief shot, just a single shot, and then we can all smile to the camera and then we take our leave. So in the next 1 minute, if we can all put on our cameras briefly. Yes, yes. The iSpace team, are we ready?
A minute, please.
Okay. Let's smile. I think we got that, right? Gloria, are we okay?
Yes, we're okay now.
Okay. So thank you so much once again for today. It's been a pleasure to host you, Doc, Gordon, Deborah, and then Dr. Engman. I hope we do this again very soon and have a nice day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.